Hey everybody, I'm Charting Man Dan with the chart guys. We are going to check in on a lot of red out there. We have Bitcoin breaking key support, hitting 3+ month lows. We have altcoins weak with it, but a little bit of a bounce underway as we speak. We're going to talk about what the bulls need to do to prove some kind of shift. Is it game over? Is it a bear market? All that fun stuff. Let's go. Thanks for the likes and the shares and stuff. So first off, NASDAQ. So it's been 3 days of significant weakness. And again, this has an impact, obviously. We have a key support zone that is approaching a test. That support zone has held for the last 3 months. Similar to Bitcoin. Bitcoin broke support. NASDAQ and S&P 500 have not yet. But a lot of the weakness in the market obviously translating into weakness in different asset classes. One thing that I want to keep reminding myself and reminding you all is, we're going to keep an eye out for bounces in the short term, but we're also not going to forget that with all the weakness that we've seen, the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 are still in a weekly uptrend. I mean, we're right at that support. SPY broke it just barely. But what does that tell me? That reminds me, okay, SPY, the S&P 500 is 4% from the all-time highs. It just reminds me that it can always get a lot worse. I mean, we're going to be talking at some point in the future when SPY is 15% off of its all-time high. I don't know when that's going to be. But again, that just reminds me that even though it seems like we're at extremes, and yes, we are at some short-term extremes, this isn't significant from a zoomed out, bigger picture perspective. So I have to respect my stops if I'm looking long for bounces, because again, we can always very easily see another leg down. I mean, here was over the summer in August, QQQ from the all-time high had a straight drop of 16%. And if that were to happen again, that would be another 10% to the downside over the next 2 weeks. Again, I'm not saying that is going to happen. I don't think that's the most likely scenario, but I have to prepare that that's a possibility. So on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin broke our key support. We've been holding the support for 3+ months. Bulls really want to pop back above it and regain it because as everybody's been saying, if we do not hold this level, there is nothing until the low 70s. Can we go down to 70,000? Absolutely. There's nothing saying we can't. So what the bulls would need to do, and technically this is a back burner in the sense that this is first daily oversold conditions after an all-time high. So if Bitcoin is going to, head up to 130,000 in the short term, daily oversold needs to mark a monthly high or low for a bull flag. Obviously, there's no sign of that at the moment, but generally that's how strong uptrends go. Semiconductors, SMH, stocks, but again, just going back to an example, semiconductors back in April of 2024, daily oversold marked a monthly high or low that then turned into a monthly bull flag into continuation. At that moment in time when daily was oversold, it looked like we were free falling. The bears had absolute complete control, and then we completely turn it around and keep ripping. So I just laid out 2 scenarios. 1, further downside, it can always get worse. 2, daily oversold marks a monthly high or low into continuation. Both of those are possible. We just have to determine what is more likely. And at the moment, we don't have enough information to have any confidence that daily oversold is going to lead to a monthly high or low. Again, I would need to see, Bitcoin very quickly back over 90,000 within, the next 24 hours. If we're going to call it a bear break with no follow through. If that were to happen, we would then be watching a potential falling wedge type of setup like this. But again, I'm not looking for that yet. I need to see that previous support reclaimed because it is acting as resistance, at least initially. So Bitcoin, where did we see this little bounce attempt here? Let's just go back and get this 89 level, which I am missing. So we held, that's 91. Anyways, there was 89 and we back tested and rejected from it on this hourly bounce. So we held 91 initially, we rolled over, bounce attempt, reject from the 89's, previous support, now resistance. So again, that has to be reclaimed. If that level cannot be reclaimed, we're going lower. It's that simple. We're now playing the zoom out game. You can be on the hourly. We're looking for an hourly bounce. Anything under 89.5 is just an hourly low or high. Right now the NASDAQ is trying to bounce as well. We're still very correlated to the NASDAQ in the short term right now. But look at hourly EMA 12. I can just say to myself, okay, bulls don't prove a thing on Bitcoin on any bounce attempt if hourly EMA 12 is resistance, because that has been resistance this entire leg down all the way from 95,000 to where we stand right now. So again, is this a longer term top? Are we entering a bear market? I don't have enough information to say that we are. As I said a few weeks ago, I sold 20% of my long-term no-touch position at 105,000 to protect against a couple of things that I was seeing that were just making me a little uneasy. But this is the kind of chart where I look for a monthly higher low to be the result of this pullback. And, we would need to see a good bit more downside. Really, losing the monthly uptrend is going to be okay. Now it's red flags big time. So, if we drop down and form a higher low and then eventually confirm a monthly downtrend, then things are significantly shifting. But at the moment, again, no major red flags. Just got to back test and hold those 70,000s if that is where we are headed. And again, my target was if we break 89, I'm now looking to monthly EMA 12, which is low to mid 70s. And so our downtrends are going to be our guide. We have tons of space for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. We'll eventually be looking for a 4-hour lower high. It's a 4-hour stair-step drop. So again, just, the only people looking to buy right now are either extremely aggressive, and I'm talking specifically to Bitcoin. You're either extremely aggressive or you're just dollar cost averaging in and not really worried about it too much. But otherwise, again, we're in a void. We're in a void of space between 73 and 89. And I need a level to play off of. And right now we just don't have that. And it's not the market environment where being oversold is enough for me to look long. There's too much going on elsewhere. Again, that's just me being conservative. Aggressive bulls are going to try, positioning. If you get in for a 4-hour oversold bounce and let's say you're in at 87,000 and you sell half at 89,000 and now your break even's 85. That's what an aggressive bull is going to try and do to position for some of these oversold bounces. But again, if you're patient, we just got to wait for the bulls to create a new level for us of demand because we don't have a level in this range. Dominance. So weekly higher low is set. That's our new guide. Again, my mindset has been nothing changes as long as we just keep setting weekly higher lows. And so now we have another one. If 60%, we'll just call it 60, if that breaks, then okay, things are shifting. If that doesn't break, nothing is shifting. So that's now just walking up the benchmark of the level that I care about on the dominance chart. And there are some altcoin bounces taking place right now. I mean, look at QNT. We'll get to more in just a moment, but QNT looks just fine. This is what Bitcoin bulls need to do. You fall through support and then quickly try and regain it. But here we are holding this daily level. So here's our flush bounce high where we struggled, but we built a base of support, 83s, and we did hold it into a V-shaped bounce. So QNT standing out for some relative strength. Again, there's green out there in the altcoin space right now in some names. We'll look at Sol in just a moment. MSTR, so back to stocks for a moment. So MSTR, remember these monthly inside bars. Bears couldn't ask for better follow-through initially. The bear breaks 292. So 292 breaks the inside bars bearish yesterday. And we very quickly follow through to the tune of a lot. 15%. 15% follow through just like that on monthly inside bars breaking bear. Same thing as Bitcoin. We're going to look for a monthly higher low now. Daily RSI getting oversold. So we're in the exact same technical setup as Bitcoin, but again, bears in complete control after rolling over and breaking this sideways range bearish. And now we have to watch that previous support as resistance, because if we cannot regain this zone of 285 to 300, if we bounce on the daily and that acts as resistance and we reject, that's going to affirm to us the bears have complete control. Same thing with Bitcoin. If we bounce and back test and reject, bears will have complete control still. So I'm watching this zone on a 4-hour. We're going to look for a 4-hour lower high in that zone. It's a wide zone, but that is now our previous support, now resistance. We've got to regain it or bears affirm their control. And again, it doesn't have to be V-shape. It doesn't have to happen all at once, but those are the ranges that we are watching. Miners, just falling apart. Miners have not done anything. I mean, this is every bull being wrong, right? In terms of miners, we just got to call it like it is. The amount of messages that I've gotten over the last year about, how they're going to explode and all that, there's just been a lot of people really wrong in this bull market. It's just a new dynamic with Bitcoin looking great, holding just fine, and altcoins and these auxiliary methods of trading just looking like junk. And again, I can easily point to why are these names junk when Bitcoin has been so strong? These names were bullish when Bitcoin was so strong because they were a proxy. They were the only way that we stock traders with the majority of our funds in our stock accounts could get exposure to Bitcoin. So I don't care what MARA earnings are or what their Bitcoin holdings are. If Bitcoin's going up, I can buy this thing and I'll benefit. But now that we got the ETFs, that is gone. And we are seeing it very clearly reflected in the price. I mean, MARA hitting its lowest price right now in 13 months. So yeah, they're ugly. I have no interest in miners. They've just been showing us relative weakness for so long. When a chart shows you again and again and again who it is, believe them. MARA divided by Bitcoin, it's just been relative weakness for years. I mean, since the start of 2024, it's been nothing but relative weakness. All right, moving on. Altcoins. So ETH first. Again, we're still watching the range, right? Flush low, flush bounce high. That's all we care about. We had a couple levels in there. We broke some short-term support. Now we have a triple top on quadruple top on ETH, 2850 to be watching, but we're still within the range of that one daily candle, and we can still trade within that range for weeks from now as well. If we hold 2150 and get a daily bounce going, and then we see a daily lower high, next thing you know, we're into next week. So again, it's just the zoom out game here as well. You can see we didn't get as ugly on this leg down. That's why we have some green altcoins out there, is because they're tightening up while Bitcoin got another clear leg down. But we're just going to look on the 4 hour. We're going to look for a 4 hour lower high to be the result of this bounce. Bulls must confirm a 4 hour trend change. Then we zoom out to the daily. So just one time frame at a time. Some altcoins are already proving something on the hourly, but it's not many. Well, maybe it is. Well, let's look at them all. Sol got to historical oversold RSI levels, and it has relative strength on this bounce. Why? Because it got so beat up on the way down. I mean, Sol was dumping before Bitcoin was, and so the bears are tired in Sol, essentially, is what it boils down to. So again, you look back at the history of Sol, and the most oversold this daily RSI gets, you're looking down. I mean, we've got our indicator. Check, guys. Historical RSI. I'm on the wrong account. I'm on the wrong TradingView account to show you. Well, I guess I could get rid of some of these. So historical RSI, this marks off the most, it's gotten oversold in the daily time frame, and this dip got down into that level. And so, Joey and a couple other chart guys traders are playing this bounce and choosing Sol because of those historical extremes. And at this point, again, 4 hour bounce is underway. We're going to look for a 4 hour lower high. And again, don't forget, last stream I was talking about how backburners are great for bulls in a trending strong market. Backburners work for bears. So Sol is going to be watching to see, does 15-minute overbought, which is approaching, does that mark a 4 hour lower high? Sol hourly overbought marked the daily lower high in this bear flag. We got right up to RSI 70. That's the top. And then we roll over for another 20% plus to the downside. So again, bears can use RSI as a piece of the puzzle, just like bulls can. The key to when RSI is useful is it has to be looking in the direction of the strong trend. On these altcoins that have been weak for a long time, aside from historical, because that's a more rare occasion, but do I care that an alt is hitting 4 hour RSI of 22? Not if it's in a weekly, daily downtrend and the bears have full control. We care about oversold RSI when we're in uptrends on the daily and weekly time frame. So just don't lose sight of that. Again, it is always just one little piece of the puzzle, but it's way more useful when it's with the strong prevailing trend. And because altcoins have been so weak, the strong prevailing trend is with the bears still at this point. All right, let's go down the list real quick. Let's see if everybody's holding our flush low. ENS is holding the flush low. NEAR, XLM, INJ. So the vast majority are still holding the flush low. RNDR broke it. So any name that has broken it stands out for its relative weakness. Link, weak, broke it. Litecoin's a different setup. Litecoin bears following through from that 12-hour rising wedge we were talking about last stream. Sand broke support. The more individual names that break their flush low, the higher the probability that everybody's going to do it. But at least at this point, most are holding it, even though there is, well, maybe like a third of my list has broken the flush low at this point. Theta broke it. Mana and Sushi right on top of it. So if I'm looking long, I would prefer the names that are still holding that support. But again, I am not being an aggressive bull in this current environment. QNT bulls will be looking for a 4-hour higher low, trying to shape up quickly. All right, I'm reading the chat room now. Thanks for the likes and stuff. Whenever you're analyzing volume, so someone's saying volume very low, first off, you got to look at a bunch of exchanges, obviously. I mean, it's high in the sense that we are 150% over the 20-day average volume on Coinbase. Binance is 200% plus over the 20, and we still got 6 hours. So it's not low volume as far as I'm concerned. If you're multiple times more than the 20-day average volume, it's a big volume spike. And you also have to keep in mind the ETFs. With so much volume being in these ETFs, that's where we need to look as well. The day is, what, half over right now, the stock market trading day, and we're already approaching double the 20-day average volume. So as far as I'm concerned, it's high volume. High enough volume to believe the move. Gold Bitcoin correlation. So that's a good question. So gold and Bitcoin have been inverse for a year, just in terms of periods of complete bull control, shooting up while the other one's going sideways, and vice versa. There's been now 3 flips where they've shifted that relationship. We're on the verge of gold starting weekly consolidation. Keep in mind that by no means that Bitcoin has to bounce. Can Bitcoin bounce when gold consolidates? Absolutely. Again, it's just one little piece of the puzzle. So I can't just say I'm going to long as soon as gold pulls back. It can be one little factor. I need a price level to go off of where my stop loss goes. I need, a game plan of where I'm going to sell a little bit, maybe to take some risk off. I need to still establish the whole game plan, but it could be worth paying attention to. Just ensure that it's not, Bitcoin's or gold's consolidating, so I'm buying Bitcoin. That's too simplistic. The relationship is not, long-term enough. It's not tested enough to have that much confidence behind it. But again, same thing as Bitcoin technically being a daily back burner. That can be a factor in your analysis as well, just one of the puzzle pieces. Thanks for the like smashers. Shout out Daniel Ritter, shorting Sol on the 1 hour overbought. Same dude who shorted Litecoin 140. Nice to see some bears having some success out there, just because so many, myself included, so many of us have long bias. I'm a much better long trader than short trader, but it is nice to see people take advantage of both directions, because there's certainly opportunity in both directions. Why are U.S. yields dropping at the same time as risky assets? Honestly, I don't care. That's never been a factor in my analysis. One thing that I have learned is since the CVID dump, things fundamentally, I mean, we're in an electronic trading world, right? By the way, I suggest watching Floored, free documentary on YouTube. Just a fascinating view at how we used to trade in the pits and how electronic changed everything. But anyways, we're in an electronic world, trading world, which to me is why technical analysis is so much more important to me than fundamentals. But I mean, when CVID inflation is shooting up and gold was not responding, and there's just so many instances of these fundamental relationships that should be doing a certain thing that just go out the window in certain environments. And, yeah, the 10-year is dropping significantly with a confirmed weekly downtrend while the market is dropping. So again, I don't glean any information from that. It doesn't tell me anything. It's just never been a factor in my trading style. So the Litecoin analysis is going to be pretty similar in the sense that we're going to look for a 4-hour bounce and a 4-hour lower high. The next information I'm going to get is what's the bounce retracement on these 4-hour oversold bounces? And does it create space to confirm a 4-hour trend change as a result of the next consolidation? Or is it a bear flag that leads to another leg down? I do believe that at least short term, the broader stock market is due for a daily bounce. Again, the fact that we haven't confirmed a daily downtrend yet, this is a straight drop from the all-time highs. So the next big check mark for bears is, can bears confirm a daily downtrend after the next bounce? And so obviously, again, that's going to impact what crypto does. But for Litecoin, we're trying to get the 4-hour bounce going. We're then going to scout a 4-hour lower high. Bigger picture, the most likely scenario is a weekly higher low compared to 80.64. Bulls are hoping to keep closing over weekly EMA 12, which we've done every week for the past bunch of months. But again, it's still sideways, so that's the big difference here. Bitcoin was sideways forever and broke bear, and now we're going to back test support as resistance. Litecoin is still within its sideways range. Its relative strength gave it more cushion to work with, and now we're just falling back into the middle of its sideways range. Is Bitcoin double? I think you mean sensitive to what happens in stocks, Apple, Nvidia, earnings, and so on. If they're bad, can it push us? I wouldn't look to the individual names. I mean, yes, obviously Nvidia matters for the Nasdaq. It's the Nasdaq that I care about when I'm checking in comparison with Bitcoin, because again, fear is contagious. It's just sentiment. It's zoomed out, big picture sentiment, and that sentiment has taken a significant hit over the last week of trading. And you see crypto impacted. I mean, we see everything impacted. So I would say yes. I mean, if the Nasdaq sees another leg down, another 3% drop, it's going to put downward pressure on Bitcoin and crypto. So yeah, I'm always watching both. I haven't noticed. I haven't been looking. So Steve is surprised at the different prices on exchanges, thought the arbitrage would be better. Whenever volatility picks up, bots go wild and do their things. And then, maybe the network has congestion that slows down people exchanging coins to different exchanges. I assume, again, I haven't looked on this drop, but I assume it's nowhere near the disconnect that we saw on our flush a couple weeks ago when altcoins, were down 25 to 35% in one day. That's when the disconnect got huge. I'm not going to buy back with my long-term no-touch position at this point. I would need fear. Again, the remainder of my long-term no-touch, 80% of it, I will sit through. If that's it, if that's the top, and we're about to head through another few years of bear market, all right, I'll hold. Again, at this point, if everything goes to zero, I profit because I have taken enough off along the way. But I will not, give me weekly oversold. And in a bear market, then maybe I'll add it back, looking another, 4 to 8 years into the future. But No, I have no plans to do anything. That is now cash for earning risk-free interest while I patiently wait for fear. This isn't fear. I mean, again, zoomed in, this is fear. Zoom out, this isn't fear at all in stocks nor crypto. Altcoins, okay, I'll give you, we're in fear. But Bitcoin and stocks, we're not in fear. This isn't anything significant. Again, this is our chart for the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's been going straight up for years. And even Bitcoin. Yes, we just had a bear break, but, fear, 70,000 will be fear if we drop, over the next 6 weeks towards that level. Again, that's why I'm constantly reminding myself we can always see another leg down, which is why if you are bullish, you've got to respect some stops. Can you follow my sells? I mean, I posted in our chat room when I did it, and then a couple days later, I talked about it on the live stream while we were still, we got back to 105 multiple times after I said it on the live stream. But yeah, I say when I do stuff in our chat room. I think I sold it on the initial thing here, and then we did bounce back and get back to that level. So there was a second chance in there. I'm using EMA 12 and 26 on these charts. Let's check OM. Yeah, it's holding on just fine, daily uptrend. But again, this is where keep an eye out for things to shift. Oftentimes lead bulls, who am I thinking of off the top of my head? I mean, Sol, obviously. But oftentimes those lead bulls hold up just fine during bears, but it's enough to convince the bulls, right? Just psychologically, imagine you're an OM bull. You're like, oh, this is great. We're holding on really well. All my other positions are down significantly. I'm going to lock in some ohm so I don't give back this profit to try and offset the weakness elsewhere in my other holdings. I mean, that's the psychological mindset that does go on. Doesn't mean we're going to top out, but it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest for weekly consolidation to start from here and to just take a little bit longer to roll over. But again, simple statement is it is holding on just fine. Got to be cautious at 12-hour head and shoulders. If we bounce from here, got to be cautious of that. We talked about the Bitcoin weekly head and shoulders last live stream. It was a tiny, tiny right shoulder. I mean, technically we broke the lower high every pattern, just a real quick dinky pivot. I have zero interest in cannabis. It has not confirmed a daily uptrend in 3.5 months since the vote. Let's start with confirming a daily uptrend before we even think about anything shifting. It's testing all-time lows as we speak. EDA, it's still holding its flush low. Again, we can easily trade in this range for a while. All I care about, flush low, bounce high. Look at these rejections from the bounce high. Reject, 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 roll over. Now we're trying to hold this zone. It's such a wide range. We can stay in it for so long. The correlation with Bitcoin, again, when people talk about correlation between Bitcoin and the NASDAQ, you have to compartmentalize correlation during regular market hours and non-regular market hours. They are completely different. When the stock market bell rings, algos and bots fire on, and they link the correlation in trading way more significantly than anything that is outside of 9:30 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern. There's been a consistent pattern where the bell rings, Bitcoin dumps, the bell rings at the end of the day, and Bitcoin bounces. That's happened a lot in the last month. Steve knows I'm all technical analysis, mostly all. Do I believe the fundamentals show as a footprint on the charts? Absolutely. I mean, I can look at the chart on Sol and tell you something's up, right? The fact that it's weaker than everything else, I know there's got to be a narrative that drives it to that amount of weakness, whether it's coins unlocking, whether it's the negative headlines. I'd be able to tell you there's something going on there. Just like Apple, Apple is going opposite of the NASDAQ the last 3 days. I can tell you that there's positive headlines for Apple that are helping it hold up. So comparative technical analysis can help me see if there's news or not. What percentage of trades is done by algos? The majority. I don't know. Nobody knows. People can have some educated guess, I'm sure, but the vast majority, without a doubt. I see it happen. I mean, it's all I do is I'm just watching these algos and bots trade. Yeah. Remember back in 2017, if you were trading crypto in 2017, remember when there would be instances where a bot would turn on and it would sell the same amount, markets sell 100 ETH every 25 seconds. And it would just do that. And it would do it 25 seconds later and again and again. And then you look at this and say, okay, well, I know the pattern now. I'm sticking a bid down where it flushes to. We then snap back because the arbitrage bots are buying it because it's only happening on one exchange. It's happening on Coinbase. The arbitrage bots snap it back. I stick my bid down here and I'm just playing off the bot. So, people say, well, trading is now all automated. We can't compete with the bots. We can ride their coattails. I can't tell you how many times, well, probably I can tell you how many times it did, maybe 3 times. But it was just like how is this real? It's free money where you just stick your bid and then you'd sell 3% higher and there would be zero liquidity on the market, on the order book in between these two levels that are multiple percent away from each other. And you just recognize what the bot is doing and you jump in front of it and you just skip the bot, you skip the bid and get your bid filled on the lower wick and then undercut the ask, and you're just, just consistently trimming. I don't know where was I going with that? Bots and algos, they're everywhere. Yeah, in my opinion, the Bitcoin dominance is dropping today because of the flush that altcoins had a couple weeks ago. It's like the altcoins ripped off their Band-Aid a couple weeks ago, and now they're lamenting, that's the wrong word, languishing sideways. And now it was Bitcoin's turn. Now Bitcoin rips off the Band-Aid. QNT is still going. 4-hour bull flag. Key resistance will be 100 psychological. Man, if I had to pick a number on what percentage of the actual trades are algos, I'd be at 60% plus. But again, that's a wild guess. All right, I got to wrap it up. Thanks again for the likes and the shares. Again, establish your game plan. Just use stops. Bears are, okay, let's talk bears. Bears are waiting for 4-hour lower highs if they're aggressive or daily lower highs if they're patient. Bulls, aggressive bulls, are trying to play off the current lows for bounces, knowing that a 4-hour lower high will be the most likely result of the next bounce. Patient bulls are waiting for bulls to prove something. If I'm a patient bull watching Bitcoin, give me a big 4-hour bounce that I miss, and that tells me, okay, we got space for the 4-hour higher low now. Then I can try that 4-hour higher low. But it's almost like waiting for bulls to prove something before I get interested. And that's the more cautious approach. All right, do good things. Have a good Tuesday.